page.
Oh, we've lost so much class.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's not my fault. I did my best.
All right, now.
Make a comment, say this is like 30 minutes later.
You can make the comment.
You are.
30 minutes
you do
later.
understand that on the keyboard, there are spaces where there are two white keys that don't have a black key. And here's my favorite freebieism. Freebie has invented all of these really cool things that I love. Everybody say early food is breakfast cereal.
Yeah,
Early food is breakfast cereal.
I do remember him
That
saying
stands for EF and BC. Those are the two half steps that are automatic half steps on the piano. We have to use a black key and a white key everywhere else to make a half step. But whenever we hit B to C or E to F, it's an automatic half step that we don't have to use the black key for. And so much. All right. Now, when we add accidentals, and by the way, accidentals are simply flats, sharps, and naturals that are not in the key signature. And we use them for several reasons. But first we have to know how to use them. I don't know who teaches people to do this, because I don't. But almost every first test when we write scales, I see something like this. And that's not where sharps, flats, or naturals go. There's a specific reason why the natural sign, well, let's start with the flat sign, sorry. The flat sign needs to be a really pointed B. And not only that, if it's to be a B flat, the B line that's going needs to be going through it. You see how part of the flat is above the line, part of it is below. The heart of this B needs to contain the line that it's flatting. Or if it's in a space, it needs to contain that space. All right? And it needs to be directly left of the note that we're flatting. For instance, and I should say sharps too. In sharps, when we make a tic-tac-toe, you see how the space of the F is showing up through the square of the tic-tac-toe. Or if you're on a line, the line has to be going through the square of the tic-tac-toe. And the natural sign is just the same thing without all the legs. Okay? Now, the reason it has to be on the left side, does anybody know the reason?
You really read from left to right?
Exactly. You're awesome, Sam Cam.
Yep.
You read from left to right. If you do it backwards, as in note and then the sharp sign,
You've already played the note.
when you first see the note, it triggers this little motorcycle guy in your brain to take off running through the nerves that's saying C. We're playing C, and the saxophone players all put their middle finger together. But then when we're reading from left to right, we see the sharp sign. After that motorcyclist has to drive back up the nerves and let the other guy that says F sharp or C sharp go down there. In other words, this note right here immediately tells you some slide position or some fingering. Okay? This sharp sign does not. This sharp sign does not have a specific finger tied to it. So when you see this sharp sign first, it does not trigger the nerve to send signals to one finger or the other. It doesn't until you see the combination, and if we're reading from left to right, we see the sharp sign and then the C, and then the nerve is dispatched to go to the appropriate finger. Okay? So you have to remember always, you've got to be able to see the space or the line inside the square or inside the bubble, and it has to be on the direct left. Okay? Now, can't remember what I was going to say. Anybody remember what I was going to say? I didn't think so.
Half step.
All right.
Breakfast cereal.
Breakfast cereal. All right, now, I don't, let's see if it's in here. Okay, and then on page 20, if you're keeping score at home, it shows you there, of course, the wrong way and the right way to do things. Now let's talk about double sharps and double flats. A double sharp, when you're constructing it, is really a real fancy X with little ornaments on it, like Christmas tree ornaments. That is actually a double sharp sign.
Really?
That X. However, when we're using a pencil and there's such a tiny little space in there, an X is also just fine for me. Okay? If you're going to publish anything, you're probably going to use a publishing program that has already made that little symbol, so you won't have to worry about it. If you're just writing things for your friends to read, you can hit the X and it'll be just fine. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. and then Samantha laughed and I forgot.
Oh, God.
If you are ever writing a document and you are speaking of B flat, it is not publisher appropriate, just in case you ever wanted to know, to use a capital B and then a small b for the flat sign. Because that actual B does not have a point on it at the bottom. So the technically correct way to refer to a B flat in a document is B dash the word F-L-A-T. The sharp sign is still okay in publisher theory, I guess. That's the Shift 3 on your computer keyboard. Almost a typewriter keyboard. Has anybody ever seen a typewriter in here?
No.
Good.
They're
I have
At a
like
one.
museum?
basement.
For the basement.
I have one.
Dangerous.
And it works.
But, all right. And if we're going to have a double flat, it's two flats right beside each other. Here again, this kind of tags on to the same discussion we were having. If we don't care that our orchestra plays in tempered tuning, which we wouldn't want, we want our orchestra to be in pure tuning. But if we didn't care, we wouldn't have to write a B double flat. We could just write an A. Because on the piano, that's what it is. However, the B double flat is really just a few cents lower than an A. Not a full half step lower, obviously, but just a few cents lower than an A. And that's why in orchestra, and even the composers who write for piano works also use the double flat because that is actually the correct note in the key signature that we're using. Okay, but that's how you do it. Just two flats here, or a double X, or sorry, a fancy X for the double sharp. Now, if we have let's say an A double sharp, and the next note we want to be just a plain A sharp, we actually have to write one sharp and one natural. In other words, this natural cancels out only one of these two. Same way with if you had a B double flat and you want to, I'm standing right in the front and they can't see that. Sorry.
There's a glare anyway, you can't really see it.
Well, you can see
A double
the
flat
double
is,
flat sharp
Yeah,
right
it's
there.
just a whole set, exactly.
You see
Again,
that just up there.
well,
If you change the focus, you can
if you're
eliminate a lot of the
using
glare.
piano, there is no- because on the piano, a B double flat really is an A.
Yeah.
But if we play B double flat in the orchestra, or if we sing it, we will actually play it lower than an A, because it is a lower note in that key signature. Now, some of this will all make sense when we get into scales and we find out where our leading tones are. The reasons that we raise certain pitches in every scale have to do with 7 to 8, which is the end of the scale, which is a half step, and 3 to 4. And actually, I should say, if I wanted to be absolutely accurate, is 4 to 3, not 3 to 4, because it almost always comes out instead singing from F to E, okay, instead of E to F. But anyway, what we do is we push those two out as hard as we can. We push that B as sharp as we can, so that we're almost singing C instead of B, and then we just very gently move to C. And F does the same thing. The altos usually get the fourth, and the altos would push that F down as hard as we can, so that it's a really close step down to E. Okay? And that's because we push those out, that's where double flats and double sharps come in. All right. Interestingly, though, and you can shut it off now, I'm just going to babble, but